Hi everyone. So I just wanted to show you how I found this strip in my garden probably about 3 years ago when I bought the place. And that's how dead it looks, right? So I got a couple of seedlings and I planted, watered it, and voila, maybe 2, 3 months later, this is how my garden looked. I started off with herbs because it's easiest. I had some spinach, some basil, and it was just like lush and everything was growing. The secret to this is timing, because when you plant just before summertime or springtime rather, this is what you'll get in summertime. And I found that, living in Johannesburg, this is the optimum time to start your garden. So this is currently how my garden looks. It's the middle of winter. It's almost the end of August in South Africa. So this is how it looks. It does look bleak. It does look sad. There are some herbs and plants that have survived, but there are some that are dead. That's my garlic plant, which is actually what's left over. That used to be my lush, tomato tree. Rosemary is always there. That is the time. It's quite dead. My coriander does not look so bad, but it can do with a little pickup. And as you can see, if I go around the garden area, everything doesn't, look horrible, but, the fruit-bearing plants are just done. That was my pomegranate tree. These are my citrus trees, and they bear oranges and lemons, or limes rather. And that's my blueberry tree, and so on and so forth. And that's the rest of my garden. So what's important at this time is not to just chill. It's actually to prep your garden and, your planting season, which is really great. And fertilizer fell off my hand before I could do this job. But this is one of my favorite fertilizers. It's pellets, and so it does have a bit of a smell though. I've got potting soil, I've got acidic compost, and then I've got that fertilizer that I've shown you, which is for fruit-bearing plants. Then I've got a couple of seedlings that I wanted to plant, right? And I'm sure earlier you also saw that mint that I've just foraged from my friend's garden. So I start sprinkling off the fertilizer. This is a hard manual labor where I have to remove all the weeds and make sure that my soil is also not too compact. So I'll start pounding it so that it also loosens a bit so that I can plant the seeds properly. I then add to certain plants, they want acidic fertilizers, especially my blueberry plant. It loves acidity. So I add that fertilizer. Some parts I'm adding potting soil, and in some parts I've added the organic fertilizer. Right, so this is quite manual. This is definitely not the fun part, but it's definitely going to be worth it when I start bearing the fruit. So I've got again my seedlings, and I've come to learn, some seeds prefer this type of soil, which is like quite the red one. Some seedlings prefer small pots, right? And some seedlings, to be honest, I just plant straight to the ground and they will flourish. And I think the more you practice this, and I did start off, when I still stayed in an apartment in a balcony. So I started practicing which seedlings want to be where. And so I've got a couple of seedlings that I'd like to plant. And, like I said, I've learned where they flourish mostly. Ew. So I'm not the 5 centimeters gap type of planter. I just hoy, I'm not that pressed around where how I'm planting the seedlings, as long as it works. And obviously I will then start sprinkling and watering the garden. From this time on, I'm going to make sure that I fertilize more often. I will water my garden very often as well, as if there's already plants growing, but there's nothing really. It's just me preparing for the springtime. So give it a good soak in water, and hopefully I will plant more seedlings and I will bear fruit in the springtime.